De grote techshow wordt mede mogelijk gemaakt door Orange Cyberdefense. Van strategie tot uitvoer, jouw cybersecurity in vertrouwde handen.
Welkom bij de Grote Techshow. Tech verandert onze wereld, hier hoor je hoe. Vandaag praten we in dat kader met de Consumer Technology Association, de belangrijkste organisatie van de Amerikaanse techsector, om eens te horen hoe ze nou zelf vinden dat het daar gaat. Ik ben Joe van Burik, bij mij zoals altijd Ben van den Burg. En ons hoor je ook altijd uitweiden over de wereld van tech in onze extra podcast, die je vanaf elke donderdag kunt horen in de Grote Techshow. Dus abonneer je in je favoriete podcast app. Nu dan gaan we in gesprek met de Consumer Technology Association. Want we willen heel graag weten wat nou precies de kijk is vanuit die Amerikaanse lobbyorganisatie. Het gaat niet altijd even goed als het gaat om handelstarieven. Tegelijkertijd is de regulering heel erg versoepeld voor grote techbedrijven om te doen wat ze willen. Bijvoorbeeld met de ontwikkeling van AI. En dat gaan we allemaal weer zien vlak na de jaarwisseling tijdens de Consumer Electronics Show, de CES. Nog altijd de belangrijkste techbeurs ter wereld in Las Vegas. So we'll be switching to English now, as I say. Welcome to our studio, Kinsey Fabrizio, President at the Consumer Technology Association. Good to have you.
Thank you. It's so good to be here. I'm very happy to talk to both of you.
Yeah, so it's been a year in tech, and you're going to kickstart 2026 with the next edition of CES. Yeah. First of all, how do you keep track of everything that's happening in tech, especially in the US? Because there are certain companies which have daily updates, and then, how do you keep track of all that?
Yeah, well, CES is owned and produced by the Consumer Technology Association. So we're an American trade association, a non-government organization, and we represent the entire tech industry. So outside of CES, those magical 4 days a year, which I have just learned this morning that Ben is going to be joining us at CES.
Yes, I'm joining.
You'll be our correspondent.
My gosh, I can't wait to hear your take on it and the updates after. But outside of that, we also produce market research.
Right.
And we have a really robust research analyst team, and they're tracking the latest tech updates and the latest news, and they're sharing it with us. And they're saying, this company has just made this announcement. We're seeing potential M&A activity happening over here. We're seeing an emergence of AI in generative and agentic or EV solutions, and they're constantly updating us and telling us what's happening in the environment. And then we meet with our companies and our customers that are focused in these areas, and we say, how do we help you as a trade association? How do we advance this tech forward? How do we remove barriers to entry? How do we let you innovate? Yes. And that's what we do. So we do research, we advocate, we also write standards.
Right.
So on your phone, when you fly, you put it in airplane mode, CTA wrote that standard.
Ah.
Yeah.
And thank you very much.
I think one of the famous ones you advocated for as well was HDTV back in the day.
Oh my gosh, HDTV, 4K TV,
right.
8K TV.
So what's going to be the next thing? And don't mention AI then.
Right now the industry is looking at a new standard. It'll be a television standard for RGB, so the colors and the vibrance that comes through in the screen.
Yeah.
We see a lot of that. Next big exciting things, robotics.
Right.
This is going to be huge at CES and enterprise on the enterprise side, but also consumer.
So the humanoids.
Humanoids, yes.
Okay, humanoid robots.
Sign me up. The humanoids that can fold and sort laundry and cook dinner and clean the house. I want one in my home today.
Yeah, sure.
How do I get it?
But But I have always with those kind of humanoids the scale. It's nice to have one or two, but to scale it is more difficult. How do you see that?
It is, it's becoming easier and they're more sophisticated. So there are some companies really leading the way in this space. We'll have them at CES on the show floor. They're able to scale the humanoid robots and powered by AI to do more sophisticated tasks. So typically if you had a robot in the home, it would vacuum and that was it.
Right.
These are able to learn your home and get better as they do more and be able to predict and need what you need and what you want in your home. So they're much more sophisticated.
Yeah.
It is probably going to be a few years until they're really a reality in the home, but there's big potential and I see it coming.
Right.
Robotics big, quantum. Quantum, yeah.
Is it there yet already? Because we have some quite good research institutes in the Netherlands. And
sure do.
We do, especially in Delft. And they keep telling us, well, it's still going to be approximately between 8 and 20 years away, but it could be way longer.
Well, I think it's a little closer than 20 years away. We're seeing some acceleration of research and application in the commercial side. So space, travel, biotech. And I think those will be the first applications that we can understand and conceive of and see. But CES is a look into the future. So if it's going to be a reality in 10 years, it will be at CES today.
Right.
And that's how we look at tech.
Okay. So we do see this interesting situation looking at the fact that basically everyone's acknowledging AI is in a bubble currently. Let's just phrase it like that. How do you take that situation and at CES deliver on new perspectives which maybe break away for that or lean into that? Because it's really determining the narrative in the entire global tech industry currently.
We embrace it. We love innovation. We love tech that is going to change the future and solve the world's biggest challenges. So we lean into that. At CES, AI has been a category at CES for a decade.
Yeah, but surely there's a massive risk where a lot of smaller parties are at risk of not, making sure all those billions of investments are delivering on something because the really big ones are grasping each other more than ever.
Well, CTA, 80% of our member companies are small startups, small to mid-sized businesses. So, of course, everybody knows who the big tech companies are, and they're all our members. But that's, 6-7 companies. That's a small amount of companies.
Yeah.
The majority of our companies are small startups. And so we take on the responsibility of advocating for them, talking to our government and saying, look, if you have 50 different sets of AI regulations for 50 states, you're not going to get innovation on a startup level.
What do the government tell you, given that they've just signed new deals with OpenAI, NVIDIA, and AMD, for instance?
Well, I think this administration is very wise when it comes to AI. They are looking at it on a bigger picture. This administration wants to continue to be the leader in AI. They rolled out a beautiful AI action plan that covered everything from, making sure that AI models can use data that's out there and available to train, to making sure that we reduce barriers, to making sure that it's risk-based and we create the opportunity for these companies to really innovate and move forward so that they can clearly understand what the rules of the road are. That's what we advocate for. We actually would like one federal AI framework in the United States that companies could understand, okay, these are the guardrails, and this is what I have to follow, and this is where I have to comply to be able to bring my product to market.
Yeah. So when you say that, it sounds to me like you oppose Gavin Newsom's recent bills then.
Yes, there's over, not even just California, there's been over 1,000 AI bills introduced in the States this year alone.
So that's creating a very different picture.
Yes, it's a patchwork approach. And the big companies, they can handle it, but the little ones can't. And so we need to make sure that we advocate for both, tech innovation on, of course, the big scale, but also for the smaller, more innovative companies too. That's where some of the real exciting stuff comes from.
Right. Ben?
In the States, it's more allowed than, for example, in Europe. The rules are less strict. You look more at the outcome, and when the outcome is there, then you're going to see, is it nice or good for people? And in Europe, we make rules, and then the guardrails, and then we have to take care of those rules. Why is your method better for mankind?
Well, in the United States...
companies, I understand, but also for human beings.
For human beings, too, because in the United States, what our government does a good job of is listening to industry and giving industry a chance to weigh in up front before they roll out regulation. They also take the opportunity...
But as you know, industry has only one goal, is to please the shareholder. So there's not... to please mankind or or human beings. That's more a European way of thinking.
Well, it is a goal, but there are many companies that are seeking to solve big challenges using AI. I mean, companies that are looking at how they can increase access to food and food security using AI to predict different crop scale measurements and using it in ag tech. They're using AI in healthcare, using technology to create clean water resources. So there is a lot of tech that's focused in this space, and it wouldn't be able to come to market if we had an overly burdensome regulatory framework.
Of course, and we talk a lot about those examples, and we all love those examples, but in practice that people use AI mostly for counseling, for coaching, for do the homework, so for make deep fakes, for social media. So it's more the funny, nice stuff than solve the energy problem. So how do you see that comparison?
Yeah, I mean, there's a balance. There's always going to be tech that's used for entertainment and fun, and that consumers are going to just enjoy using. But there's another side to AI that even if it's just the everyday consumer and they're using generative AI or agentic AI to make their work tasks more manageable, to make them more efficient, that creates happiness too. And that also is good for their employer because they're working smarter and they're more efficient, and they probably are finding more capacity and time to focus on other projects. Yeah. So it's always a balance. Yeah, it's always a balance.
Well, speaking of balances, what intrigues me, Kinsey, is the fact that in the US, we just have to say, we've seen some layoffs this year, which occasionally are related to AI innovations. At the same time, especially in Europe, I'd say, we see these reports of AI integration not delivering, and actually some companies already backwalking and or needing more people to make it work. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I think when it comes to AI, the important thing to know is, yes, some jobs are going to shift and change and look different. Just like if you think about the internet, how many new economies emerged? You know, the gig economy, like one of my favorite economies. I love having stuff delivered and being able to. That's the only way I can be a working mom sometimes, is like having an on-demand economy powered by tech. So there will be new economies that emerge and develop because of AI, and that will shift things, but new jobs will be created. Yeah. I think, you know, there are other reasons that companies might be pulling back on jobs. In the US, tariffs are a major issue. They've caused a lot of uncertainty for companies. Yeah. And when you are a CEO of a company and you're unsure of a major change to your supply chain and your inputs and your cost structure, you might decide, I'm going to scale back. I might reduce my workforce, or I might not invest as much in the workforce, or I might not invest as much in R&D. Yeah. And that really stifles innovation. And we've seen that be a challenge for companies in the U.S.
Yeah, but the same government that's allowing all those AI innovations is also the one responsible for a lot of tariff developments.
It is.
It's a duality.
It is a duality.
How do you handle that?
Well, you know, it's a constant back and forth, because on the one hand, I love what's happening with AI in the U.S. I think it's great, but I don't love what's happening with tariffs. It's a tax on the consumer, and it creates uncertainty for businesses. I do think there's been some positive steps. We've gotten some decent trade deals. Of course, we wish all of them were 0% tariffs, but trade deal with the EU, if we can, we can deal with that, and at least companies know, and so they can plan. And there's no longer uncertainty in that aspect.
We praten zo verder met Kinsey Fabrizio na deze boodschap. En nu gaan we verder in gesprek met Kinsey Fabrizio van de CTA.
So how do you talk with the government about the tariffs?
We have said for all 100 years of our existence, CTA, that we want free trade, and we believe in a global trading ecosystem.
And they don't listen to you.
Well, not right now. But we also talk about, we've been talking about this for years. When tariffs, bubbled up in the first administration, even in the Biden administration. But the push should be to onshore with our allies and work with our allies and our countries that we are friends with countries in Europe, with Japan, with South Korea.
Yeah, I like what you're trying to do, but it's still, the situation remains that we have a massive difference in political culture between the US and Europe on the whole currently, and that's not even taking Asia into account.
Yeah.
How do you get everyone on the same page? Because we have people on a weekly basis in our studio saying we need to have more digital sovereignty in Europe.
I understand. Well, CES is the best platform for that. And we're creating a platform for these companies to come together. We're having conversations that are talking about different AI regulations, what's going on in the world, how we can collaborate more, the global venture network. And so we feel like if we can bring together the right ingredients, the ingredients being startups, tech companies, investors
in Europe.
I know.
How are you going to achieve that?
Yeah, well, so talking about the importance of investment, I mean, when we talk about the difference of Europe and the US, of course, there's the regulatory issue, but the access to capital is another big challenge.
We know. It's a major topic in the elections this week, actually.
It is. Oh, well, good. I'm glad to hear that. But it is a big issue, and CES is a great platform for that. We have a really robust investor program. So, and of course, we have a robust startup program. And the majority of our startups are coming from outside of the United States to come to CES.
Right.
We have a tremendous amount of startups from Europe and a lot of countries represented. They come, they exhibit at Eureka Park. And you know who walks around Eureka Park? The biggest investors in that exist. Mark Cuban. He's walking around. We are having...
now, when we have Mark, then everything is okay.
If we got Mark, then we're good. Shark Tank is there. But many large investors, even bigger than Mark Cuban, are there at CES. Yeah. And then we also match companies. So we are matching startups, European startups, with investors. And we've also created, for the first time, a tool for investors that helps them search companies who are looking for funding. And this is something that companies can opt into when they're signing up for the exhibit space. They can say, include me in this searchable directory so investors can find me, learn about my product, and see what stage I am at fundraising.
Often we ask why investors not investing more in Europe. Just put a whole venture capitalist, put 10 billion, they also invest in Europe. And they always said, well, the mentality in Europe is not do or die. It's more nuanced, and for tech to have more return on your investment, then you have to more bold. In America, it's more the entrepreneurial spirit. What is your opinion? Why American investors not put for 10 or 20 or 30 billion in Europe?
Well, one, I think the mentality in Holland is very similar to the U.S. mentality.
Great.
In terms of, go for it, innovate, like we're all in. And that's why you have so many strong companies, so many strong companies here. I think the challenge, it could be related to regulatory frameworks and the fear that, if companies are stifled by a regulatory environment that doesn't let them move fast and scale, that's something that an investor would think about. But there's probably a host of different reasons.
At the same time, there's also the deteriorating or changing relationship, I would say, between the Trump administration and China. It seems to go back and forth. I mean, we do at the same time have this situation where NVIDIA and AMD are allowed to sell advanced semiconductors at a commission rate, so to say, to the government. So it changes every week.
It's definitely unique.
But, how do you develop a strategy that goes across multiple years that should also benefit Dutch and European tech companies, while it can change next Wednesday?
Yeah, I mean, it's not a perfect answer. It's really hard to do that. We try the best that we can. I think the most important thing is constant communication with companies in the industry.
Right.
And hearing from them and talking to them and understanding, what is your key pain point today? And how can CTA, as your trade association and your advocate, how can we help you? And is it sometimes it's just education about recent trade deals. Sometimes it's education about what's included in the trade deals, what's tariffed, what's not. Sometimes it's collaboration and convening and getting companies together. Or sometimes it's inviting government leaders from around the world to CES to tour the booths and to look at the products and to look at the solutions and to ask the innovators themselves, what problems are you solving for? And how did you develop this product or tool? And bringing them together. So we try to convene as much as possible. We try to lay out a roadmap to problem solve as much as possible. But we also, as an organization, have learned this year that flexibility is extremely important. You have to pivot. Gary, he wrote a book called Pivot or Die.
Yeah, I read it.
We don't want to die. We want to pivot. So we have to be ready to do that. And the industry needs us. And that's why we exist. That's why a trade association exists.
Yeah. Well, finally, Ben, as mentioned, you'll be heading over there.
Yes.
What would you like to see and hear? And maybe Kinsey can already give a preview of that.
Oh, yeah.
I like the humanoids a lot. So the humanoids are robots, but then they are mainly the best one are from China. And then I'm thinking, well, I have a really good a vacuum cleaner at home, really good. But it's a Chinese one. And I'm constantly thinking, okay, the Chinese people are watching my whole house. They know the floor plan and there's a camera, there's a LiDAR in it. Oh, is it? I'm thinking about that. So what's your opinion about the China humanoid robots, vacuum cleaner, etc.?
Yeah, so here's what I'll tell you. We do have Chinese exhibitors at CES. We have exhibitors from all around the world at CES. 160 different countries represented at CES.
Right.
When it comes to China, the United States has a list. It's called the Entity List.
Yep.
And companies from China who are surveilling improperly or using tech in a bad way or who are not following the rules of the road as the U.S. would like them to end up on that list. CTA, even though we are not legally required to, we follow that list. And so if a company is on that list, they can't exhibit at CES and they can't be part of CTA. So that's really how we address it. There's so many great exhibitors.
A friend of mine works on a digital chicken. That's also nice, eh?
Yeah.
The digital twin, a digital
of the chicken. I love it.
Yeah.
There was a digital twin of a heart at CES.
Of a heart, yes.
Of a heart, which, you talk about tech that's solving, big challenges. When you're a surgeon, sometimes your first surgery is on a person, that has no idea that you're training and you maybe haven't had, any other live surgeries. But now with digital twin, you can get as close to live training and live experience and better for the surgeon to mess up on the digital twin heart than the real heart.
Yeah. Well, that's some of the innovation we're going to see. Well, Ben's going to see at CES, and we're going to hear from him in our Big Tech Show. Thank you so much for this preview conversation. Kinsey Fabrizio, President at the Consumer Technology Association.
De Grote Tech Show wordt mede mogelijk gemaakt door Orange Cyberdefense. Van strategie tot uitvoer, jouw cybersecurity in vertrouwde handen.